it's not absolutely not the case that all wars end in agreement and deals. Some wars end in the destruction of one side, which is what Putin wants to happen to Ukraine.
Your column this morning looks at what Putin's next moves might be. Henry Kissinger has said at Davos that Ukraine may have to concede some territory to Russia in order to bring about lasting peace. What are the options?
Well, I hesitate to quarrel with Henry Kissinger, but nevertheless, I think while that might be, you can see how that could be a logical outcome if one could settle the war on that basis. My argument really in my column today is it wouldn't settle it, that Putin may make a show. He might declare he's won, say that he generously offers a ceasefire, enter into peace talks, suck the Ukrainians into that. But they would never reach a conclusion, those peace talks. He would always be back for more in the future. And therefore, I think it's a bit of an illusion to think that we can do a deal with Putin over this. He will never be satisfied while Ukraine exists as a functioning state, now a sworn enemy, of course. So therefore, our position has to be to give the Ukrainians the maximum support and not start lecturing them really on making concessions when they are people fighting for their freedom and their national existence. So let's not fall out about it. Putin wants us to fall out about what deal we would do with him. Well, no deal with him is going to work over Ukraine, so we shouldn't entertain that notion that it will work in the end.
Mm-hmm. But isn't it the case that all wars have to end in some kind of talks or settlement, if not a deal, as you put it, and certainly not one that concedes Ukrainian territory to Russia? How does the end game come about here if we can't believe anything that Putin or Russia says in good faith?
Mm-hmm. It would be good, of course, if it ended in an agreement, but all wars don't end. It's not absolutely not the case that all wars end in agreement and deals. Some wars end in the destruction of one side, which is what Putin wants to happen to Ukraine. Some wars end in a frozen conflict. They just come to a standstill at a particular point, that like the Korean, the boundary between the two Koreas is from 1953, where they stopped fighting. And they're still eyeballing each other there on that same front line 70 years later, a kind of frozen conflict. And that's more likely in this case that the war stops at some point, but it stops because the Ukrainians will have fought the Russians to a standstill, not because everybody agrees to a nice deal about the future relationship between their countries. So I know this is very depressing, but I think this is probably, as long as Putin is in power, the true situation.